Hello and welcome. We begin in Kenya, where protesters are back on the streets a year after the country was rocked by massive anti-tax demonstrations. Kenyan streets are once again filled with anti-government chants. Tear gas and smoke cloud the air. This time, the demonstrators are protesting the death of a 31-year-old activist. His name is Omondi Ojwang. Now, he was found dead over the weekend while in police custody. Ojwang was arrested last Friday after the deputy police chief accused him of tarnishing his reputation on social media. Police claim that Ojwang died by suicide. They say that he sustained head injuries after striking a cell wall, but his family and lawyers dispute that. They point to signs of severe physical trauma, like swelling on his head, nose and ears.
The police are claiming that Ojwang killed himself in a safe custody of police. But what the members of the family are saying is that they have seen the body. The lawyer has also said they have seen the body, and there are more than one injuries on his face, on his hands, and on the body. So how could he have hurt himself like that?
Kenya's Independent Policing Oversight Authority has launched an inquiry into his death. Meanwhile, demonstrations have erupted across the capital, Nairobi. Marchers held placards and chanted, "Stop killing us." The crowd eventually marched to the central police station where Ojwang was detained. Police responded with tear gas to disperse them.
The government is actually urging us to come out in the streets again. They are saying that they have not repented. They are saying that they'll continue killing young people. They are saying that they'll continue abducting and assassinating us. So what you're saying is that it is better to shout and die when shouting than to keep quiet and be gotten from our homes when we are quiet.
Ojwang's death has sparked widespread outrage online, reigniting calls for protests and accountability. This incident comes nearly a year after a deadly wave of anti-tax protests, when activists and demonstrators were killed or abducted by Kenyan police. The protests peaked on the 25th of June, when thousands stormed Parliament during a debate on the controversial finance bill. The uproar forced President William Ruto to withdraw the bill. But the police crackdown left 60 dead and dozens detained without charge. Since then, political dissent has continued to grow. Economic frustration remains high, and human rights advocates say that activists face escalating pressure, including arrests, surveillance, and legal harassment. Now, the role of security forces and the police have increasingly come into the spotlight, who are accused of a brutal crackdown. Meanwhile, public opinion for the William Ruto government is plunging, as the president insists he will not be distracted by critics. Is Kenya heading toward a political chaos? For more on this, we have with us Stella Agara, who's governance and security analyst, joining us live from Nairobi. Thank you for being with us, Stella.
Thank you for having me.
What does the recent protest over the death of a young activist in police custody reveal about the state of police accountability and freedom of expression in Kenya?
It speaks to a number of things. One of them is the continued shrinking political space in Kenya, attempts at reducing citizens' access to spaces where they can exercise their voice. Unfortunately, this is reduction of spaces that are guaranteed by the Constitution. It also speaks to continued police lack of accountability, and I must say that the police is beginning to behave like the government that they serve. They are beginning to also act in dictatorial manners. They are beginning to act in excesses, and that's why we are seeing increased abductions. We are seeing increased police brutality, and now we are even seeing many more deaths happening in the hands of policemen. This thing that we are seeing it happening with the police is a reversal of gains that have been made over the years. In achieving freedom of expression, freedom of participation, freedom of association in Kenya, and for allowing citizens to exercise their voice, especially after we have guaranteed the right to public participation in the law. It also speaks about something else that maybe is not being spoken about loud enough, but that I cannot be quiet about, which is a question of corruption. The origin of the arrest of this gentleman has to do with posts that he made concerning corruption linked to a police boss. So there are also questions about how deep has corruption gotten in Kenya that it can fight back and actually kill someone's son without trial. So it definitely speaks a very grim picture on Kenyan police accountability, but most importantly, the space for the Kenyan voice that we have worked on for very many years.
Yes, Stella, given that this week's protest coincides with the 1-year anniversary of the anti-tax demonstrations, how has the nature of public dissent evolved in Kenya under President Ruto's administration?
You know, it's laughable what's happening right now. Alyson, the reason I'm saying that is because actually we are in the process of having conversations about the finance bill this year. So it's the same time, the same events that were happening last year. And unfortunately, under such circumstances, the finance bill, the indications are that Kenyans are not happy with the finance bill even as it is right now. And so for the police to make the kind of mistake they have made right now, for them to cause someone to die in their custody is basically for me a sign that they're either insensitive or that the gods have decided to destroy them, and so they've decided first to make them mad. Because there are definitely going to be protests about the finance bill, because I've seen posters and everything online. However, when you start having these kinds of events before the conversation on the finance bill, when you start having these kind of events that agitate the citizens before an issue that is actually going to be causing them to come out on the streets, you're basically adding fuel to the fire that is already blaring. So in terms of the state of things, I think this is just setting the stage for a mess that definitely President Ruto did not need with his government, but unfortunately he's unable to rein his people in, and so they are negotiating themselves for a lot of trouble, which honestly is unnecessary when we are supposed to be having critical conversations about the finance bill right now.
Right, and how might the government's response, such as deploying tear gas and resisting what could be called justified public outcry, impact Kenya's democratic image, both domestically and internationally, particularly ahead, as you mentioned there, of these key political milestones?
First of all, a number of things have happened. One of them I've mentioned in my previous response, that they're adding fuel to fire. So their police response is, even today in the protests, is to respond with force, with tear gas and all that, not allowing people to vent, say what they need to say, or at least approach the institutions that they're supposed to be approaching. Ideally, the way protests should work, as entrenched in our constitution, is that citizens should be able to walk to the institution that they're speaking to and present a petition or present a write-up of what their demands are. They were even being denied access to those spaces. So that is problematic, number one, because when people are seeking to express their voice and you try to stop it, you just increase dissent. It doesn't stop. Number two, months upon months of suppression, months upon months of abductions, months upon months of police brutality have hardened very many young people, and they are beginning to speak in ways that, for me, are signs of danger. Just before I logged on, Alyson, I was watching a young gentleman who was talking about the fact that they are coming for they're coming for the police, and eventually they will go for the members of parliament. And his exact words were, they will lynch them. For me, that worries me. It worries me completely, because it gets me to think that we have ignored the voices of these young people for a very long time, that we have come to the place where now they are daring enough to openly say what they're going to come and do to the government that be. They're losing confidence, and the police are not helping matters by continuing to use force against them. Now, the circumstances surrounding this case are also very disturbing, because they are then causing citizens not to have confidence in the system. This gentleman was booked in a police station, no complainant to this point, no orders of arrest. Nobody is telling us who was the police officer in charge of this case, even though those systems are very clearly stated in our arrest procedures in Kenya. And so for us, it goes to say that this is excesses of government. Also, his father clearly said that he was picked up in a Subaru. Alyson, in Kenya, if you're picked up by a Subaru, nobody needs to tell you that it's the Department of Criminal Investigation that has picked you up. And yet nobody in the DCI has even been asked to account for this. Indeed, if nothing happens, this is going to cause a lot of trouble for Kenya. Heads must roll, not just at the DCI. Heads must roll at the police force. The person who is currently claimed to be behind the reasons why this gentleman was arrested, who is the Deputy Inspector General, needs to be also suspended so that he can make way for proper investigations. And if the government of Kenya cares about peace and maintaining peace, they should fast track this process so that Kenyans see justice to be done and not just claim for it.
Right. Stella, thank you. As always, great to have you on the show. Thank you for your valued insights there.
Thank you for having me.
Firstpost now available in 9 languages on YouTube. English,
Stands at $36 trillion.
French,
Le FMI, comme
German,
Geschäftsführenden Direktor,
Hindi,
$30 trillion ka-charge mo.
Indonesian,
Pemerintah tanpa pemeriksaan.
Italian,
Sekali radikali.
Japanese,
$4 trilhões euro mo.
Portuguese,
Por causa do próprio balanço patrimonial.
Spanish.
Beautiful bill.
Go to Settings, click on Audio Track and select a language of your choice. Be the first to know what's happening around you in your first language. Firstpost.